Hey everyone, this is DayTraderRockStar from DayTradingRadio.com, and today we have a very important video for you. It is my reintroduction of the Kick-Ass Trade of the Week. The Kick-Ass Trade of the Week was a segment I used to do on this show maybe about a year ago past, and it was based off our watch list I sent out each week, and it would take the best setup that I thought was prepared to move within that next week in that 5-day period, and that would be considered the kick-ass trade of the week, the one that had the best setup. Now, each week when I send out the watch list, it's based on a methodology I call the high probability methodology. So of course this setup would have to be a pure HPS setup, would have all the characteristics of a really good risk-reward trade and everything that goes along with that. And that's the concept of the kick-ass trade. Really, if you had one shot, and you can only take one stock once a week, that would be the kick-ass trade. So let's get started. Let's actually talk about the criteria. Right now, we know that the market has been really performing well, and I've been really keen in on a lot of great flags, and flags have been very, very profitable for me. So this week's kick-ass trade is also another flag. It's not this one right now, ADI, but I want to, before I go into the setup for this week, I just want to show you some examples of recent flags because they're so good, and the criteria behind finding a good flag is important. I like to really get a classic look of a flag. Sometimes they group flags and pennants into the same category as continuation patterns, which a flag is. It's a trending stock which pulls back into a little parallel channel, a little pullback, and it flags out after making a big move up. That move up is considered the flagpole, and then it pulls back. And what I do is I use the momentum indicator of the stochastics to kind of gauge the timing on this. And I also watch that 50-period moving average and that 20-period moving average. And I want to see that price really kind of hold above those levels. They could chop around there, but basically, if I see that recognizable channel developing, we're holding above that 50-period moving average, and the momentum is coming down and about to shift, then most cases, and the name is a quality name. We try to stick to quality stocks that are trending, and lots of times I'll look for a stock that's actually coming off of a base. So once we identify a stock that breaks out of a base, that's a breakout, and that's its first flag. And that's really what you want to capture, is understand that first flag, because the second flag really becomes a great trade too, and then even the third flag after that, if this pattern just continues, because you'll have a breakout. So we're going to show you some examples of those, and all these examples I've traded with you. So ADI was the first one. I had ADI recognized as a flag a couple weeks ago. It broke out. You can see it pulled back this Friday, but this is not what we're looking at. We're just looking at how a flag forms, and you can see that beautiful. I put the channel lines in there now, but without that, you can pretty much see there's just a nice little pullback. Here's the 20-period, 50-period moving average, 200 underneath us. But basically, you can see that underlying trend is holding. It's just a flag. Everything looks good, and the pop out of that flag. All right, a couple other ones here. Navistar, recent setup, and again, a lot of the characteristics of that setup. When you start to see that trend, it's always great to capture that trend early on in the trend, and basically a trend is a trend line. It's really defined by a trend line. Lots of times, if you put that in a set of trend lines or a channel line, then you can pretty much get the range and the direction, and then it becomes much easier. Just remember, if you could actually recognize a trend, then you know that there's a top of a trend and the bottom of the trend, the width of the trend, and all you have to do is wait for those levels to get tested and take your trades, depending on where you're going to, if you're taking that short or taking that long. Now, stochastics have a lot to do with it. Just wait for that rotation back down. So here was another nice flag. We're just going to show you some flags. I'm going to run through these flags real fast. Qualcomm, good example of this continued flag. Here's another flag. Without knowing what a flag is or trading them after a while, if I took a lot of these lines away, you might not recognize these as flags, but just you have to eventually get used to it. You get some experience behind you, and you start to recognize pullbacks in the trend. You can see that there's a series of higher lows here trend is up and it's popping. So now this becomes more of a defined channel because you're holding that 50 period moving average. You're getting oversold. So that combination right here is an HPS setup. Basically, you have an oversold daily, you have a recognizable pattern, you have the flag, and then you have the momentum. And a rule of my rules, usually out of a flag, I notice about a 2-day run. If you have a pure break out of a flag, you get that initial break with some volume, then you get a follow-through day. And I always like to take profits into that follow-through day. I'm more of a short-term swing trader. We could actually, lots of times when we recognize a flag, we could actually break that flag, and once you catch that, it's usually a big expansion day, so it could easily be a scalpable trade too. If you find a flag that's breaking out, you have a nice move on that. And then the follow-through day, and then I usually try to take profits or protect profits and then wait for the next setup. So Qualcomm, that was recent trades. Dollar General, this was just traded this week, and we came out of this mini flag, and this is going to continue to flag out and move up, even though we're just breaking this downward trend line. So we're going to really establish a trend, and that will be actually a good trade coming up. AAP is one flag that's setting up today, and that's an extra bonus right now because I like that one a lot. But I just wanted to show you some examples of great flags in the past. McDonald's. This is very similar to the flag we're going to be looking at today. You can see a recent trend line break to the upside, a sideways little channel consolidation back. We're holding between the 50 and the 20 period moving average, and the stochastics got oversold, so the momentum is going to change here. And then that's the key. Anything else you could add to this, underlying trends, trend lines very close. Anything that you could add to this just adds to the probability level of this move making up. So this is a nice pullback. You're buying into weakness, and then you get a nice run. You take profits. You wait for that next signal. It'll come. So McDonald's, great trade. We had that one, DISCA. It was a nice flag here. You can see the momentum was pulling back. Sometimes you don't get a fully oversold level. If you start to hold this level, if you start to recognize a flag is taking place, you could define your zone that you want to start buying into, just in case you don't want to, or right when you get that crossover, it should tell you that it's about to go, and then you have that 2-day follow through. So these are great patterns to trade if you recognize them properly, because they'll give you 2 days usually to profit from them, and then by the end of the day you can really recognize them. So you do have a momentum type of trade that you could get into the following day. Let's see what else. So let's go for this week's kick-ass trade of the week before I show you too much. Philip Morris. All right. You can see a very nice little channel here. We're holding that 50 period moving average. We just got oversold, and we haven't broken out of that flag yet. So this actually looks like a great setup for a flag and continuation pattern. You can see a recent little trend here broken. We flagged out here. We popped. We're flagging again. The underlying trend line, everything looks great. It's kind of a textbook flag. It's very close to recent highs too, which makes it an interesting scenario here because you could get that breakout and break out the 52-week highs. So that looks very nice for something like this to happen. Philip Morris, glad to bring it to you. I'm DayTraderRockStar, and we'll see you next week with the next kick-ass trade of the week.